I found the best way to invest in global ETFs using SRS. Yes, you heard me right. It is global ETFs, not unit trusts. But I think that I need to provide some context first because for most of you who understand about SRS, you all would know that SRS is mostly for local Singapore stocks and ETFs. And if you want to invest in the international markets, usually you have to go through a unit trust. So in today's video, I'll share about something new, and especially for those of you who have contributed your SRS in late 2025 or even early 2026 for the tax relief reasons, but you don't know what to invest yet, I think this video today will be a good option for you to consider, because by now you all should know that if you contribute to SRS, you should not leave it idle because the interest rate is only 0.05% per annum. So to utilize your SRS, you will need to invest it. But let's give a quick background about my SRS situation, because for many of you who have watched my videos before, you all would know that I am currently investing my SRS through Poems in this fund called Amundi Prime USA Fund, which is a unit trust that tracks the large and mid-cap companies of the United States that is very similar with the S&P 500. Previously, I was using another platform called Endowers to invest in this Amundi fund, but after I read about Poems and researched about it, then I switched it over from Endowers to Poems. So I have documented all these steps and journey through my SRS investment videos. So you can take a look at those documents. And the primary reason for the switch was because Endowers charges a 0.3% platform fee per annum, whereas Poems does not charge any platform fee for its unit trust. And Amundi Fund happens to not have any kind of trailer fees, so there's no trailer fee rebate to be discussed. And I know that all these terms can get quite confusing, so if you want to ask some questions, join us at over 22,000 members in the Honey Money SG Telegram group. But I want to go on to this point of cost and tax comparison, because when I look at platforms, I usually look at what is the advantage. Is it strong enough for you to switch? And you must always remember this motto: cost is guaranteed, but profit is not guaranteed. When I first invested in the Amundi Unit Trust on the Endowers platform, it charges a 0.3% platform fee plus 30% dividend withholding tax. But to be clear, there is no sales charge. And this is similar to Poems, where they do not have a sales charge. And the great thing is they do not charge a platform fee. So there's no 0.3% per annum management or platform fee. But having invested in Amundi Unit Trust, you will still be subjected to 30% dividend withholding tax. So the point of today's discussion is, if there is a platform that offers zero platform fee and you can lower the dividend withholding tax to 15%, effectively halving it, then is it a good consideration? Because cost is guaranteed and profit is not guaranteed. So if you can save half the dividend withholding taxes, I think it is a guaranteed win. And it can certainly improve long-term returns with the similar exposure, which is why I want to introduce to you another platform called StashAway. And their new product is called the ETF Explorer. And I want to be clear that this episode is not sponsored by StashAway at all. So it's really my own research and finding and what I prefer to look at. And I'm seriously looking into this portfolio because by February 2026, one of my insurance policies would have matured. There will be $20,000 that is coming into SRS. So I will need to deploy this SRS into the investment that I prefer. So like I said, this is an unbiased and non-sponsored review. I'm just doing it for my own sake. But if my research works for you, then feel free to adapt it. And if you look at ETF Explorer, you can use your cash or SRS to invest in a variety of ETFs, including silver, gold, Nasdaq 100, S&P 500, global equities. And each team has a specific ETF. For example, for Nasdaq 100, you can invest in the QQQ. And then for S&P 500, it is the IVV. But to be clear, all these ETFs are domiciled in the US, which means a 30% dividend withholding tax will be applied. At the same time, since these ETFs are domiciled in US, there will be estate taxes applied. So it's not really ideal to use StashAway to invest in all these US domiciled ETFs. I would rather choose like a London Stock Exchange ticker or UCITS ETF, something like what I'm currently using, right? Interactive Brokers, you all know, right? Scan the QR code here and then it will lead you to Interactive Brokers. But I want to move on to this point on global equities because this is something different. Now, for global equities, the ETF Explorer is currently using the ETF ISAC, or you call it iShares MSCI All Country World Index UCITS ETF. And you see the keyword there, UCITS ETF. This fund seeks to track the performance of an index composed of companies from both developed and emerging markets countries worldwide, and that is the MSCI All Country World Index. So I'll share some key facts about this fund. Firstly, it is an accumulating ETF, which means that no dividends will be paid out. All the dividends that are paid out will be reinvested back into this fund. The expense ratio is rather reasonable at 0.2% per annum. And this ETF is domiciled in Ireland, which means only 15% dividend withholding taxes will be applied. And that also means no estate taxes because that only applies to US domiciled ETFs. Now, if we look at the top holdings of this ETF, we have the Max 7 companies, but also developing economies like MSCI India UCITS ETF. So this is quite good, right? You can now invest in the UCITS ETF using your SRS layer. I don't think any other platforms can offer this as of the current date of recording. And I know what some of you will ask next. What are the fees and the costs involved? So we look at the pricing. For StashAway ETF Explorer fees, it is charging $1 per buy or sell order. That is rather manageable, and there is no additional monthly management fee. This is unlike their robo portfolio where there is a management fee charge. ETF Explorer is just a buy or sell charges. But I want to be very transparent that they do charge a FX spread, which I think is in line with all the other trading platforms that are offering the FX conversion rate. I think 0.3% is kind of the market rate. But if you want better FX spread, definitely you have to go through interactive brokers. Like I mentioned, right? If you scan this QR code here and you go and look at interactive brokers, and I personally tested their foreign exchange rate spread, it's really the lowest, the lowest you can get for any trading platform. This is why this video not sponsored, right? If you want to support my content, you can click on this interactive brokers link or scan the QR code right here. Thank you for those who have clicked. Now, moving on, I want to talk about what I will be doing in February 2026 because that's when I get my $20,000 of proceeds from my insurance policy that has matured. So instead of a Monday Prime USA fund, which I'm currently investing in through Poems, I'll probably use my SRS funds to invest in a StashAway ETF Explorer in the global equities portfolio. And this is specifically because I want to invest in ISAC, okay, ISAC, which is a UCITS ETF because of the dividend withholding tax favorable reason. And I know that some of you will ask, why not I use StashAway ETF Explorer to invest in S&P 500 since it is IVV? Because IVV expense ratio is even lower, right? 0.03%. But don't forget that it's US domiciled. That means 30% dividend withholding tax. And that is not much more favorable than a Monday Prime USA fund. So I don't think it's worth it to make the switch. But if you are looking at the Nasdaq 100 ETF, or you are looking at silver or gold, all these precious metals that you want to use your SRS funds to invest in that are US domiciled and US listed, I think it is still a good option to use StashAway ETF Explorer because there are no other trading platforms right now in Singapore that offers you access using your SRS funds to invest in such items like Nasdaq 100 gold or silver. So for those of you who are more adventurous, you all don't need global equities, you all prefer to focus fire on Nasdaq 100, then StashAway ETF Explorer is totally worth considering. Again, I want to be very clear that this is not financial advice at all because I'm just providing the facts of this product and sharing its features and whatever information we can all find from the internet. So it's not telling you to invest, it's just saying what you can invest in. So some of you may ask, what am I doing with my current Poems portfolio of SRS Amundi funds? Okay, I'm not going to sell it immediately. I'm going to test water first, right? I'm going to invest this $20,000 through StashAway ETF Explorer, and then I kind of get a review of what it's really like to use the StashAway ETF Explorer because I know that some of you complain Poems platform not very user friendly. So yes, after I invested, then I'll take a look at the platform and then I'll do some kind of regular monthly or quarterly update to see how is it feeling like. Also, for those of you who ask about my CPF portfolio, it is still currently invested with Poems through the same product, and that is because StashAway does not offer CPF investing for now. So to summarize what I'm doing for my own portfolio, my Poems, CPF and SRS Amundi funds will be intact. I'm not selling them or transferring them away, but for StashAway, I'm going to explore it from February 2026 onwards using SRS funds. Would I recommend it using cash? I don't think so because with cash, I think you can go for better trading platforms like interactive brokers. But for SRS, they cannot be used on interactive brokers, right? So the next alternative is really through StashAway ETF Explorer. And you can even invest in like Nasdaq 100 gold or silver if you really like to use SRS funds, but previously you couldn't do it. But for me, I'll choose the global equities fund, which is the ISAC. And I want to be very clear again, ISAC is not the S&P 500 tracker fund. It tracks the all country world index. That means it's more globally diversified, including your developing countries or developed countries outside of US. Okay, but S&P 500 is really focused fire on US companies like the Money Prime USA fund. And why I think ETF Explorer from StashAway is worth considering is because you can use your SRS funds to invest. So if there are any future platforms out there that can use SRS to invest and at such a low cost of just buy sell $1 plus no regular platform management fees, I think I will then do an update to it. So I'll test the StashAway platform, see whether it's really user friendly and how is it like to invest my SRS funds, and maybe in a future video I'll talk more about it. Okay, so for those of you who want to use StashAway, you can go and use my link to support my content. I think there will be some welcome rewards, but they do change from time to time, so always check back at my Telegram group for the newest update lah. I'll also put the sign up link in the description as well as the ETF Explorer homepage, so you can go and take a look and do the research yourself, because don't just rely on me, okay, because I cannot give financial advice, but you all do the research yourself. You'll go and see whether this product, this platform is suitable for you. And if you want to look at one recent video like CPF versus SRS, which one should I contribute first or top up first for tax relief reasons, then you can refer to my earlier video right here.